I was reflecting on this fact, this observation. It goes back to like when I was in junior high, and it was like um, I was expected to do these household tasks, like unload the dishwasher, and then I'd forget. And it's like or I wouldn't have the energy, or it wouldn't occur to me. And it's like, this ties into my proposal for homeschooling, because in my proposal I had listed not only that I would study all these topics, academic topics or whatever, school subjects, and write papers and stuff, but I would also do household tasks and do all these chores. And I went over the top in what I proposed that I would do. But it's kind of like, it ties into this overall motivational context and having things kind of add up and make sense. And instead it was kind of like whatever. But it was, and then I absorbed negativity for not following through on household tasks and stuff. And it's like I didn't know how to regulate my mental processes, my energy to remember. And just punishments a lot of times aren't really a very effective solution. And I think this a lot of times does lead to kids stuck in these loops where they absorb all this negativity. Parents or caregivers or schools or whatever are at their wits' end, and it's like, what does it add up to? And only by like really reflecting from this big picture perspective and taking into account the psychological process involved and the life processes, can sense be made out of it. It's like I over my lifetime I've spent a lot of money on books where it's like I've barely even opened them in a lot of cases, and they just serve as placeholders. And I mean, part of this goes back to this Fifth Discipline, which is one of the books I've had since like 2000 or so. And it's like this idea of like, and this ties into theory of constraints, and it's like you have inputs and outputs, you have time limitations. How do you, like, why spend money? And this ties into like my dad, and it ties into the concept of hoarding, and it ties into this idea of like just accumulating. I mean, there's the idea of having a collection, but it's like, on some level you can look at life in general as a collection of time and a collection of things, all the things you might have, or actions you might take, or words you may exchange with other people, or time spent with people. And it's like, what does it add up to in the end? And I don't know, it's one way to sort of think about things. So I'll tell you what it means. Pressure. I'll tell you what it adds up to. Pressure. I'm sure it's even worse in today's day and age for people growing up in this confusing world of like demystified leaders who are trying to tell everyone what to do, like teachers and parents, who are ridiculed on television, and have been since I was a kid, but even more so now. And even to the point where my brother's like condemnation of me is like based on I mean, that's the whole thing, is coming about enhancing the buffoonery of our elected leaders. And it's like this kind of like, it's impossible to do anything positive anywhere. It's only like negative, and that's all that he absorbs, this Adam Carolla negative. But it's like, well, what does it add up to in the end? Pressure. So, right, so back to, well, so that gets into like my brother, interaction with my brother, backstory with my brother, and this overall thing of like, how do I dig out of like everyone just, I mean, how do I proceed? And then what is the sort of like message for other people? And how can, well, like cognitive interaction technology and interaction neuroscience, being the study of cognitive interaction technology, is key, with the idea that technology really is about methods, and it includes methods that people implicitly use to communicate with each other, like exporting or outputting certain types of catchphrases, maybe not even conscious of what they're doing, but it's like implicitly there's a process and an interaction going on. So in various situations. and then it serves a purpose for the person speaking, it serves a purpose, or it has an effect on the person listening, and vice versa. And then cognitive dissonance comes into it when all these different things people say contradict each other, and then people try to patch up old relationships and so on. So, which ties into Richie's comment about patching up things in his world. So, on that clip. So, we'll leave it at that.